Hello, welcome to my channel, Sunfire Designs. My name is Jen, and today we're going to be making a three-tiered cupcake stand. And I usually do the top two tiers together and the bottom tier by itself because otherwise it can get kind of hard to juggle all three and make sure that you are doing your blooms in time, etc. So I prefer to do two together and then the other one separate. So I've already mixed up my resin and I just took its temperature. It was 34 degrees. This is the thermometer I use because I can switch back and forth between Celsius and Fahrenheit. And I just use Celsius because it's easier for me to remember. And yeah, so I got it on Amazon, and so I just use that to check the temperature. The resin I use is Janchun resin, and I get that on Amazon. It's a 1-to-1 ratio of resin. All right, and so I've already pre-mixed my resin, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by setting 30-ish mils aside. I'm going to do 35 mils aside for me to put my white, to turn into my white. And then I'm going to pour the rest into the molds, making sure I get them even, which is the hard part. And I think the colors I'm going to use today are going to be yellow, blue, and like a crimson red. I found the most amazing alcohol inks at my local craft store. So I'm going to be using those because they're really, really awesome and work really well. Very, very highly pigmented. So I'll give you the name of that in just a minute. I feel like I put more of it in that smaller one. I don't think I think that's gonna have to work because it's almost impossible to scoop it over to one side to the other. All right, well, that's gonna work. Now, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my little silicone tool and I'm gonna pull out I'm gonna go around and pop the bubbles and pull out, like I can see that a hair has already fallen into here, little fuzzy hair. And here, I don't know where they come from. They just kind of fall out of the air. I even turn my air conditioner off when I'm doing resin because I don't want anything to blow into the mold or on top of the resin and land in there. And I usually cover it with a tote, plastic like drawer thing. I usually cover it with that to keep things from falling in it when I do turn my air on. I live in the desert, so I think it's almost impossible to keep everything out of the air just because it's so dry, but I do what I can. All right, looks like these are kind of almost even. So I wasn't as bad off as I thought I was when I first did this. All right, so, and did I get it? I think I did. There was like another little hair hanging out right there. Nope, there it is. Story of my life. Probably doesn't help that I have a cat and a couple dogs. So I think I'm gonna be finding hair around until forever. All right, I think I've got all the bubbles out of the edges. So I'm gonna hope my torch works and just go over it really fast and make sure I pop any obvious bubbles. Another hair. All right, I think I've gotten it all out. All right, so I'm gonna start off by dropping the alcohol inks. I'm using two different ones. I'm using T-Rex alcohol inks, which are amazing, and I'm using Sunshine Yellow. And then these are Brea Reese alcohol inks. This one is Prussian Blue, and then the second one is Crimson. These are my two favorite alcohol inks that I have used from that brand. Telling you, I need to put myself in a bubble. So I'm going to start off with the yellow in the inside. Sorry, I'm a little picky. I couldn't tell if that was, I think it's underneath the mold. Had to be sure. Okay, I'm going to start off with the yellow. And I'm a little heavy with the ink sometimes. Oh, it splashed. That was my fault. All right, so that was the yellow. And then I'm gonna do blue. Oops, almost forgot to do the bottom one. All right, and then next I'm gonna do the crimson. Sorry, I guess I'm focused and concentrating too hard on this. Got in my own little world there for a sec. All right, so I'm gonna let that sit for a minute and kind of spread out. It's nice and dark, which means it's gonna give me really nice coverage. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to mix up my white. Now I have 35, almost 40 mils in here, and I use Casting Craft. And I've discovered that kind of works best for me is if I do 1 drop per 10 mLs. So if this is almost 40, I'm gonna use 4 drops and start there. And then I can change it if I decide to, once I mix it up. So I just put 4 drops in here. And we'll stir it up and we'll see what we get. I finally cleaned up my desk, organized things so I have a little more room. I tried to make the table not so busy. All right, so that's pretty transparent still. I'm gonna just do 1 more drop for good measure, and that'll probably be good. Here we go. That's better. All right, so I'm gonna set that aside for a second. What I like to do before I pour my white, I'm actually gonna pipe it, is I like to take the end of this and I like to kind of go around and blend the colors a little bit so that they're not quite so stark. I mean, you can leave them like this, it would be fine. It would probably look pretty cool, but this is just my preference. So I just do a little once over on that. And a couple bubbles will probably be created, but they can, they'll come up to the surface pretty easily and they'll be pretty big. All right, there we go. Now I am going to put my white into my piping bag. I found this is my favorite way to make the blooms, because I'm making a bloom if you haven't noticed. to make the blooms because I get the most consistent results. Other methods are kind of hit or miss for me. I don't know why, but this works for me. All right, and before I tie this up and pick it up, I'm gonna go over one more time. All right, done. Okay, here we go. And some people cut these off. I just am too lazy, and so I just kind of twist them up and tuck the long part in. But do whatever's comfortable for you. That's what I say. Everybody follows kind of the same procedure, but everybody has different unique little quirks of things that they do. So nothing wrong with being a little different. All right, so I cut the tip off. I don't know if you can see. I'm gonna see if that's enough coming out. Looks good. Okay, I see a bubble. Don't mind me, I'm a little focused on those. Don't like them. All right, so because this has a regular shape, a normal, like a circle, I will go from the inside out. If it has an irregular shape, I usually start on the outside and go in. That way I make sure I get coverage all the way to the out. One more little doodad there. Here we go. And I usually go in a spiral, or at least as much of a spiral as I can make, because I usually end up having more on one side than the other. I also, my hand has a tremor, and so sometimes I don't end up making them perfectly circular. But I do what I can. I don't think it really matters as long as you're trying. There are other ways to do it where you make petals, but this is the way I prefer to do it just because it's what I'm used to and what I'm good at. All right. So next I'm going to get a paper towel ready so I can wipe it off in there. I'm going to spray really quickly because there's some bubbles were made during that. All right. Now I'm going to try to make sure that I kind of swirl this around so that it doesn't make a blob in the center. If I can remember where I left off. I don't see a blob where I left off. Do you see a bubble? Whenever I think I've gotten them all. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna alternate. I usually do one and then the other, where I will pull in and then I will go out. So I'm doing both. So I'm gonna start with going in. So I'm gonna go into the center, wipe off my little tool, and then I'm gonna go the exact opposite center. That way I know that I'm being symmetrical. That's one of my quirks, is liking to be symmetrical. There's a lot to be said for not being symmetrical. It's just, I get in my own head about it and I end up being symmetrical. All right, and then I'm gonna go out from here. I'm not gonna put as many lines on the smaller one because there just isn't enough room. And this looks like it's gonna turn out really nicely. I've got the yellow going into a green when it meets the blue, and then after that is kind of like a purpley, and then the red. So that's exactly what I was hoping would happen. So fingers crossed it stays, you know, that progression and comes out nicely. Okay. think I'm going to go in again in between each of these, and then I'll go out in between those lines, which will give me quite a bit more lines than the top one, but it's also smaller, so. All right. I just love how vibrant the colors are, how nicely they disperse in the resin. Even if you're just using them to color your resin, it works so nicely. You can make the resin, you know, anywhere from pretty light to pretty dark using just alcohol inks. And the bottles are pretty big, and I'm gonna say those cost me under $3 each. You can also find the alcohol inks at Dick Blick, as well as Amazon had them, and I got them at the craft store. All right, I am not gonna swirl the middle. I usually do, but I'm kind of liking the way this has this starburst look to it. Maybe it won't stay that way, but I'm gonna try and find out. There's another bubble right here. I don't want to mess with my design. Get up there to the top. There. It's Bubble City tonight, apparently. Okay, I'm gonna go one more time, just lightly, because I have found this can disrupt the pattern a little bit. In the past, it's happened to me. Sometimes I can't help myself though, because bubbles. All right, well, I think that's good. Let me see if I can get the camera down and come a little closer. If you want to see closer, you may end up seeing a shot of my whole entire room, because I'm not sure if I'll be able to get it down without it wiggling around. So here it is up close. If I come even closer, you can see that the white is starting to bloom, and I see another bubble. Okay, and then on this one here, the white is starting to bloom a little bit. So we will see what happens tomorrow. I'm gonna go get rid of this bubble and cover them up for the night. I'll see you later. All right, welcome back. I am about to unmold the 2 parts of the tray that I made yesterday. And then also off camera, I made the bottom tray. So these are the 3 tiers of the cupcake holder. So let's go ahead and start. I'm gonna grab a piece of paper real fast, so we can see what it looks like on different pieces of paper when we're done. Okay, so here first we're gonna do is the top layer. Okay, that looks really good. I really like that. I don't know if you can see it better on black. Looks like we can see it better on white, at least I can. So here is, let me put this up here. Here is the top layer. I think that came out really, really nice. I love how it's got the yellow, which goes to green, and then out to the blue, and then the red. I don't see a lot of purple in there, but I'm okay with that. So there's the first one. Okay, let's do number 2. Here is the middle tray. Okay. Ooh, I like the way that one came out too. That one came out really nice. Same thing, got the yellow, the green, the blue, and then this one's got a little bit of purple, and then the red. Okay, I'm super excited about this. All right, last one. Hopefully this one came out just as nice. Oh, I think it did. That came out gorgeous. You can really see the blue is really bright on this one. And then the green going out to the red. Awesome, super exciting. All right, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this together and I'm gonna come back and show you the finished product. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, here is the finished product. I did end up going back and adding gold to the edges. It's kind of hard to see unless you're in the right light. But I think it came out really cute and I'm super excited. So I just wanted to share this with you. Thanks for joining me. I will see you soon. Bye.